Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fintech Frenzy. Today we have a couple interesting pieces of news. Going to be diving into a little bit of crypto news as well, and crypto news in the next coming days as some things unfold. But I wanted to start off today with a quick story I read on the SoFi Technologies group on Facebook. I saw this post and I wanted to read it out to you guys. It says, I just tried to apply for the SoFi 2% cashback credit card. It's actually 2.2%, but I'll let it slide. I actually think they still promote it as being 2%, and then you get a 10% bump. Weird. Anyway, they said, anyone else having problems getting their credit card? My Experian score is 820, or his credit score he's talking about, with 15 years of credit history. Instead, it recommended I apply for Chime's credit building card. Anyone else experiencing this with the SoFi credit card? Anyway, so this guy's name is Harry. Hard not to say that because it's part of the actual thing. It says, we're sorry, Harry, SoFi can't offer you a credit card at this time. We've considered many factors when reviewing an application and want to be transparent about our decision. The reason for the decline is under one reason. It says limited credit experience. Anyway, it says that they got the report from Experian. That's why he gave that Experian number. However, he just said it in text. He didn't show any visual proof or anything like this. And then they said the good news is we may be able to help find you a separate, different card, which is the Chime credit building secured Visa card. Kind of interesting. I mean, here's a couple of my first thoughts. One, does he actually have 820 credit score with 15 years of credit history? That would be very interesting to know, because it would seem like it would be very hard for them to turn down that type of user, especially if they are being transparent about the decision being a lack of credit history, right? If it was for something else, SoFi could have easily said, this is a cash flow problem. You're just spending too much for us right now. Or, I don't know if they would say this right now, but are they even looking for new credit cards at this time? One, I mean, we usually take on about 10,000 new credit card clients each and every quarter. We're decently early into the quarter enough for me to believe that there would be room left there for another user, especially one of 800 plus credit score looking for this card. And the fact that they recommended the Chime credit builder is also interesting. One, it's most likely a card that is managed by Galileo's own services, right? Chime is SoFi's largest tech client, but also a credit building card for someone with 820 credit score. So maybe there are some problems like a potential inaccuracy from Experian giving the wrong number or something like this. Anyway, I thought I would bring up that story because it was quite interesting. Something about it is just, I've got my spidey senses tingling here. It doesn't make total sense to me, especially in the last quarter, how they're talking about sort of ramping up credit card and getting a lot of that cross sell from existing users. Seems like the perfect user. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. So a little bit of crypto here. All right, bear with me. Got to get into it because this is important. One, BlackRock, Bitwise had both just amended their Ethereum ETF filings. But more importantly, the SEC is going to decide on whether, I'm going to get the names wrong now. I think it was Invesco Galaxy and ARK's Ethereum ETFs for their things tomorrow. So they put in forms to try to get this going. A spot Ethereum ETF. We'll actually end up seeing this tomorrow. But yeah, who knows? Now, the reason why I'm talking about crypto and why it's very interesting right now is sort of something called FIT21, which is, if I remember correctly, it's Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act. Well, This was a bill that actually just got passed through the House today. And like even Nancy Pelosi signed off saying, yes, this is where we need to go next. Essentially, this is going to allow regulators like the CFTC and the SEC to be able to put down solid guidelines for what they need in order for cryptocurrencies to be allowed on different platforms. So this is unbelievable news to a couple of companies immediately. Okay. Coinbase, top of that list. Coinbase will be absolutely the number one benefactor of solid regulations that are being laid down for which cryptocurrencies they're allowed and which they're not allowed, and what sort of a KYC or AML requirements they're going to need in order to do so. But with very strict guidelines for what cryptocurrencies would be allowed in America or traded on certain brokerages, this also brings to the idea of, hey, are actual federally regulated banks going to be able to start getting back into this asset class? I mean, it's not that banks are not allowed to have assets that they're allowed to offer out to their clients. It's just a matter of that they need to have assets that are extremely highly regulated, right? And crypto has kind of been in an extreme gray zone. It's just not where SoFi wanted to be. And in fact, they even got pushed out by regulators. But can they come back? This will be super interesting to see if, due to these regulatory sort of clarity and new potential investor protections that might be set up, SoFi, it doesn't seem like they would be in any sort of foul play to start entering into an environment which is fully regulated at some point into the future. This is still ways to go, but we're entering into an amazing new phase, knowing that this was a bipartisan deal. Everyone wanted this to go through, and now cryptocurrency might start entering the circulation of more sort of mainstream investing. Now, in terms of the actual crypto investment, this is also quite interesting as well. I had a video. Where did that video go? I may need to find it again. Bear with me. Well, I looked that up though. Essentially, it's around the idea that, now that we got the Bitcoin spot ETF, we could potentially be seeing an Ethereum spot ETF. Are we going to see even more? Essentially, Solana ETF, could we end up seeing, maybe a cryptocurrency fund of funds where investors can essentially get a broad range, almost the S&P 500 of the crypto world, and start investing that through regular brokerages like Robinhood, Coinbase, SoFi, who knows? But yeah, very, very interesting if that starts coming back in. For people that want some more clarity on my stance on crypto, I've invested in crypto for a little bit. I'm not some, earlier than 2015 or whatever. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was 2021. I first started getting into Bitcoin and Ethereum, something like that. It was around then. And yeah, so I hold Bitcoin, I hold Ethereum, but most importantly, I hold Solana. That is by far my largest holding in crypto. However, Ethereum's pretty, it's climbing for me right now. I think that is one that I've looked past a lot just due to the extremely high gas fees. That due to a lot of layer twos within Ethereum, that I actually believe that's going to come down a ton. And Coinbase actually kind of changed my opinion on that, because they're starting to deal with Base, and that's sort of their layer two of the Ethereum network. And it's freaking amazing. You can buy and sell Ethereum for near dirt cheap. So the idea that you'll be able to send money globally via Coinbase for literally no transaction cost may be a new way of looking at fintech and finance in general. And so it's a very interesting conversation, but regulation is at the forefront of that conversation. That's why I think that this FIT 21 bill is so interesting, because I never thought that we would end up getting to a day like this where cryptocurrency was going to get this mainstream. Because the real concern, I was talking to Amit about this on his stream this morning. I was just typing away in his chat, but I think the real concern is not about drug dealers or something doing this through Bitcoin. I actually think those are like false, sort of false flag things where they're like saying this is the problem, but it's not actually. I actually think that cryptocurrency, if at all it should be a political concern, is due to the fact that it might weaken the dollar. That's why I think that stable coins are much more important to get through than things like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like this. But those stable coins are on those networks. That's the important part. So stable coins allow, Latin American countries and African countries and Asian countries and all of these places to then start allowing users to set up wallets and send essentially US dollars to other people for dirt cheap. And that would sort of allow those people to still have the stability of the US dollar, but benefit off that cryptocurrency network. I think that's super interesting of a conversation. But if people just completely ignore the stablecoin and just transact directly with Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of these other things like Solana, for example, does that hurt the US dollar? Does that hurt their ability to sort of pay attention to taxpayer dollars? Are people paying the right amounts? Does this affect how much money the government is making? It's quite interesting. The government is the dealer now. The suits are the pushers. Yeah, well, I think that that's the only way that they're going to essentially allow this to work, right? If Coinbase and all of these companies are saying, or are the exchanges, right? They're the gateway off of those platforms. But the only thing is that I think is important is like, that's not even entirely true. That is true for 99% of the way that people transact with cryptocurrency. The problem is there's like Bitcoin ATMs that'll give you cash for like rip your eyes out level of fees, but still to have a wallet that's just completely on the internet, not posted on any exchange or anything like this, where you could receive Bitcoin transactions to and then pay yourself out via a Bitcoin ATM that you set up from that ATM too. So that does not require a name, does not require an email address or anything. It just gives you your freaking seed phrase, and then off you go with your Bitcoin. Like, that is weird for governments. I think that's the problem. Is like DeFi is a real scary idea for governments to think about. But hey, we're here. I mean, we're pushing through these bills that are extremely crypto positive. And if they can make it work, we could be benefited greatly, one, as a consumer, but also the stocks that we're looking at, SoFi included, will be greatly benefited from these changes. But really, you have to look at the forerunners, which is Coinbase, Robinhood right now, and then even some of the external beneficiaries like Riot, Marathon, CleanSpark, MicroStrategies, even all of those companies that essentially hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets. If that becomes mainstream investment, they have been early adopters of those coins. And so as those coins run up, they might exponentially benefit from that change. No bootleg? What? Oh, is there no bootleg today? I didn't even think about it. I didn't even know that it was Wednesday. I've just been going along the days as if I don't have weekends anymore because I just work essentially the same hours every day. So. Yeah, my bad on the timing though. I guess it's good that they didn't have the bootleg. Okay, now I wanted to go into another very interesting. I want to go into a very interesting story. One that is, in my opinion, I mean, the way I'm taking it is that it's good for good for SoFi, but I want to hear your guys' opinion because this could be the ultimate separator between SoFi and their competitors, and one that I've been talking about for a long time, but it hasn't been nearly as necessary of a conversation as what it might be in the essentially maybe months to come here. I want to read you guys a full article here. We'll go through it together. Fintech nightmare. I have nearly 38,000 tied up after Synapse's breakup or bankruptcy. Okay, I'll skip the key points because we're just going to dive right into the actual article here. A dispute between, oh wait, can I throw myself here? Perfect. A dispute between a fintech startup and its banking partners has ensnared potentially millions of Americans, leaving them without access to their money for nearly 2 weeks, according to recent court documents. Since last year, Synapse, an Andreessen Horowitz backup startup that served as a middleman between customer-facing fintech brands and FDIC-backed banks, had a disagreement with several of its partners about how much money was in their, or how much in customer balances it owed. The situation deteriorated in April after Synapse declared bankruptcy following the exodus of several key partners. On May 11th, Synapse cut off access to technology systems that enabled lenders, including Evolve Bank and Trust, to process transactions and account informations according to the filings. This left users of the fintech services stranded with no access to their funds, according to the testimonials that were filed in the California bankruptcy court. One customer, a Maryland teacher named Chris Buckler, said on May 21st filing that his funds of a crypto app, Juno, were locked out because of the Synapse bankruptcy. I keep saying breakup. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right. I'm increasingly desperate and don't know where to turn. I have nearly 38,000 tied up as a result of the halting of transaction processing. This money took years to save up. Now, until recently, Synapse, which called itself the biggest banking-as-a-service provider, helped with a wide swath of U.S. fintech universe provider services such as checking accounts and debit cards. Former partners included Mercury, Dave, and Juno. Well-known fintech firms that catered to segments including startups, gig workers, and crypto users. Synapse had contracts with 20 banks and 100 fintech companies, resulting in about 10 million end users, according to the April filing. Patek did not immediately respond to the email from CNBC seeking comment. A spokesperson from Evolve Bank and Trust declined to comment, instead pointing to a statement saying that Synapse abruptly shut off essential systems without notice and failure to provide necessary records needlessly jeopardized end users by hindering our ability to verify transactions, confirm end user balances, and comply with applicable law. It is unclear why Synapse switched off the system. An explanation could not be found in the filings. Now, I know I'm reading the entire article because it's important that we understand front to back, but just bear with me. You'll understand the picture here in a second. Another customer, Joseph Dominguez, I'm sure I friggin' butchered that, told the bankruptcy court on May 20th that he had more than $20,000 held up in Yada Fintech account. We are scared that the money will be lost if Synapse cannot provide ledgers and documents to Evolve and Yada to provide that we are the legitimate owners. This is actually, I remember like Graham Stephan was promoting this company for a bit. We don't know where our direct deposit has gone, and we don't know where our pending withdrawals are being. It's so freaking funny. I have always butchered names of any other ethnicity all the time, and I don't even try anymore. Know where our pending withdrawals are currently held. The freeze up of customer funds exposed the vulnerability in the banking as a service partnership model and the possible blind spot for regulatory oversight. The banking as a service model, used most notably by pre-IPO fintech firm Chime, allowed Silicon Valley startups to tap the ability of small FDIC-backed banks. Together, the ecosystem helped the companies compete against the giants of American banking. Now, I know this is long. I do need to get back to it, but I want to sort of give you guys some nuggets here. So essentially, SoFi is an FDIC-insured bank, okay? if there is massive problems like the connector between these banks and fintechs that can just turn off their systems without regulators blinking an eye, and we'll continue to read through how big of a problem this could be, that there could be a real stance here that there is some real regulatory oversight between these fintechs versus the fully regulated banks already. And that could really hurt the fintech ecosystem right now. SoFi has all the benefits of what these fintechs are, right? Amazing, services to their clients, low fees, completely online, great, all the great services, but they actually are regulated. They took the hard step to do everything right, which a lot of people think that they're being punished for because they're now being treated as a bank. But soon, this could be a massive, massive tailwind, in my opinion, if regulators start to step in. Let's continue. Regulators stay away. Customers mistakenly believe that because funds are ultimately held at real banks, that they were safe and available as any other FDIC-insured account, said Jason. I'm not even going to try. A consultant and newsletter writer who had tracked this case closely. This is 10 million plus people who can't pay their mortgages, can't buy their groceries. This is another order of disaster. Regulators have yet to take a role in the dispute, partly because the underlying banks involved have not failed, the point at which the FDIC would usually intervene to make customers whole again. The FDIC and Federal Reserve did not immediately respond to CNBC's calls seeking comment. A warning, however. In pleading with the judge in the case to help the affected customers, Buckler noted in his testimony that while he had other resources besides the locked account, others may not be as lucky. So far, the federal government is not willing to help us, Buckler wrote. As you heard, there are millions affected who are in far worse straits. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, he said, if this is another FTX, if they were doing funny business with my money, then what? I mean, if it was FTX, you might have to wait a little bit and then make 18% interest on your money. But B-dubs. So there's a lot of fintechs, like Robinhood being one of them, that's saying, hey, we're offering 2.25 million in FDIC insurance. That's not the problem here. They're essentially saying that the technology provider just upped and left. They shut down their system. So it was no problem with the banks, and it was no problem with Chime or Dave, or I think the actual one that he was at was with Juno. That just the technology provider had essentially failed. So here's the good news and here's the bad news. SoFi is will not be touched by this issue as the bank itself, SoFi Bank. Okay, so there's no problem there. If fintechs and fintech, reg tech, ends up getting more scrutinized, essentially. The problem is SoFi's been putting a heck load of money into the technology side to connect these fintechs with banks. Okay, so Synapse, this banking as a service provider, is exactly what Galileo and Technisys does on the back end. So if there was a problem with the back end systems, like the infrastructure technology that they are supplying to these fintechs, it could be Galileo and Technisys that end up getting the sort of bad new regulatory provisions that might get set up after this sort of problem is leaving so many users, 10 million end users with a potential no real way of accessing their money. So, Dominguez, thank you. Dominguez. Oh, God, guys. Can SoFi Tech help with that? I mean, literally, yes. The problem is that once the damage is done, once the FTX problem happens, the way that FTX should have been treated is the way that Coinbase is going to get treated. You get what I'm saying? Like, we always run by our slowest player, right? So if there's one bad driver who ended up crashing in this area, then the speed limits go down for everyone, right? That's the sort of problem. So we don't want the speed limit to go down in the areas in which SoFi is actually working. The amazing part is that I know a lot of people are super into the AWS of fintech, and I'm an appreciator knowing that is an extra add into SoFi. But truthfully, I'm already excited about SoFi just based on the actual SoFi brand alone, right? They're a great lender. They're a great, checking account provider, and, Relay's doing amazing. And the ability to cross-sell into all those extra products is already an amazing service. The problem with it is just the idea that they've spent so freaking much on all this tech, acquisitions for Galileo and Technisys, that if they start to get regulated, the sort of banking as a service industry, that could be a problem. But that could put, potential extreme regulations on companies like Robinhood, like Chime, like PayPal, right? Whereas those regulations will not be put on SoFi Bank. So let's just imagine a world where all those companies have to shut down. It's not a world that's going to happen, but I want to take you guys to extremes so then I can tell you the benefits here. Let's say all those tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users, Cash App, Venmo, all these places, are not allowed to hold customer funds because they are not FDIC insured banks themselves. So one, there's going to be an absolute flurry of licenses that are trying to go through the system for those institutions to become regulated banks so they can keep customer assets on their platform. Okay. During this massive craze, there could be some restriction placed on users' accounts to say, hey, you can't use this service anymore to have your direct deposit come through, whatever. During that time, JP Morgan's, the Bank of America's, the extremely well-funded, well-regulated banks will take on all of those assets, okay? SoFi is one of those banks. It's hard because SoFi gets looped into these, these banks these fintechs because they are a young player, but really they have the exact same regulatory benefits as the JP Morgans and the Bank of Americas. There's really no difference. I mean, if anything, we actually get treated better because we're not a globally systemic, what's the term? Globally systemic bank? I forget what it is. I'm going to look it up. Someone help me with this algorithm. Why do I forget it? Globally systemic important banks. Global systemically important banks, sorry. GSIB. I don't know if you're answering someone else or if you're asking. Oh, sorry. Yeah. SIGIG. Yeah. So AWS is just Amazon Web Services. Amazon, most people think of them as the retailer that offers all those products to people online, but really where they make the bulk of their money is Amazon Web Services, offering the, data background, all the tools to make your websites, your digital services, everything. I forget what it is, like 30+% of the entire internet runs off of Amazon Web Services. It's an unbelievable statistic. And so, yeah, essentially, SoFi wants to be that for this essentially fintech world, right? You come to SoFi, we can end up hosting your deposits. We can end up issuing your cards. We can end up giving you all of the infrastructure backgrounds. We can set you up with a way for you to treat regulations in an easy and fast way. We can handle your KYC, your MAL, AML, sorry, just everything, right? All the added features, the credit cards, we want to do it all. We're not currently there. They want to get there, but it's a long-term approach. What happened to Tanner's dog? I don't know. I think it was in here a second ago. Still here. Wouldn't this situation potentially provide a windfall of customers? Yeah, No, I think like potential. So what are the digital only fully regulated banks? I think it's Vero and SoFi, and maybe there's one more. I can't remember right now. Um, but I know that Vero is, and they're also a client of Galileo, and so is SoFi. Maybe there's another one. And obviously there's fintech arms of current banks that obviously have good setups. But if you're looking for like the best experience, imagine if these clients, or even if this just starts to become a problem where people think that their assets might get locked up, right? Imagine what happened back with Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, First Republic. As these small banks were shutting down, the biggest reason for why they were closing was they were having a problem with new deposits, and their current loans were having a big problem. Like they had, I don't want to get all the way back into it, but I'll give you a 30,000 foot view of it real quick. It's just they had a bunch of very long dated loans that they were not planning on selling, and so they had marked them for investment and had said, hey, we're going to probably lose this much on these loans and no need to update that anytime soon. And then because interest rates started to spike so freaking fast that the fair value of those loans quickly, like extremely deteriorated, right? And then it got to a point where customers in Silicon Valley Bank, which was a small to mid-sized business bank, started needing funds, right? As they were not getting as much VC funding and these sort of things, they were looking to just start to pull their money out of the bank. And eventually, as you know, with these banks, they don't always have all that money. In fact, they can be very levered up, like 10 to 1 at some points. And so Silicon Valley Bank said, hey, we need to start selling our loans that we had marked in order to be able to leverage this much, but they're not worth how much we actually have them marked down on. And so they were actually short a lot of freaking money. That got people very scared. And so then the problem with this, the reason why I'm reviewing this again, is that if people start to get wind of the idea that their assets might start getting locked up, they're going to pull their money out before it becomes a problem. How does SoFi benefit? They need to make people very, very aware that the idea of a bank versus a fintech is not whether they have branches and that they're online only versus, walk in and, see the bank. SoFi needs to make it very aware. They are the bank, okay? They are fully FDIC insured. It's not with partner banks. You're not hosting your money somewhere else. We're the guy, That is going to allow people to really calm their nerves and realize that no matter how bad that situation gets, SoFi is not the problem. That would be very key. So yes, it could be the situation. Sometimes companies just get too big and competition starts to take on that company. PayPal is a beast that is stuck. What is the software package SoFi is selling? What it's called? I don't even know what you mean. I mean, they're selling essentially banking infrastructure stuff like core and ledger technology, and they'll also do the sort of payment processing and issuing. They have an issuing and processing platform. What's the deal with SoFi? We going up or what? I mean, I don't get to decide what's going to happen with the market. So, people point to certain things like, hey, look, you've covered this stock and it hasn't gone up. It's like, okay, I never said it was going to go up. I was saying this is the news of the stock. If people are in this stock, I'll provide you with what the heck is going on. I'm not saying buy the stock. I hold the stock. But yeah. So anyway, SoFi. SoFi is being held down by rates right now. They are, all banks are lenders. And right now, lending is a big problem, and they are not getting a premium for their growth. Sucks, but it's a long-term hold. And in fact, if you continue to look at, like, so someone brought up PayPal. I don't actually believe in PayPal for the long term. I think that their market share is getting eaten away, and they are seemingly the incumbent, one of them, that is losing to some of the newer players. Where whenever we look at the banking space, who are the incumbents? Is SoFi losing their share of being in this fintech space versus other fintechs? No, actually, not really. I mean, Hood's customers are mainly coming from the likes of Schwab and Fidelity and all of these other companies. And SoFi is really taking all of their clients from the likes of Wells Fargo, Citigroup, Bank of America, and JP Morgan. They don't even really take a lot of customers from Chime and the likes of other ones like that. I mean, that might be a benefit later on, but there is such an unbelievable mountain of customers and deposits at just those four, that it's enough alone, let alone all the credit unions and everything like this. So people always point out to these other fintechs going, well, they have like Robinhood, they have a credit card that's 1% higher. So we're going to lose every single one of our 8 million people are going to get up and go over there because there's a credit card that has 1% more in cash back. Dude, how is every credit union alive right now? How is every large bank that 85% of their transactions are going through digital only already? Okay. People need to be aware of what the offerings are that actually exist out there. That's the main thing right now of why SoFi is not at 30 million, 40 million users. People don't even know they exist. That's why they're in the NBA. That's why they're getting into the golfing stuff. That's why they're just trying to pay for advertising. Anthony Noto has realized the more they spread the name, the more they grow. That's the number one mission. Anywho. Do you think SoFi is going to go for better credit card first or business lending? So it's funny that you say business lending, because I don't think, like, whether you're giving money out to student loans or personal loans or SMB loans, there's only so many loans you can give out. And it's seemingly like SoFi does not want to give money out right now. Okay. So I think that credit cards will most likely be first out of these two selections, because the return on equity on a credit card, much higher, much higher. So yeah, I think that they want to nail down that part of their business first. I also saw a thing from the stock goat, like Kyle, and he said, like, SoFi needs 5 to 10 credit cards. We're having a hard time dealing with one. That's sad. But what would you want as a second credit card? What would you want as a third credit card? Let alone 10. So this is the thing, like, even with Robinhood, like, I don't think you're going to see them do multiple credit cards, because the one credit card kind of answers all the problems, right? There's massive travel benefits. There's massive cash back. There's all of these extra things. The current SoFi credit card gives you extreme bonuses whenever you're at the SoFi Stadium. It gives you a ton of cash back if you're doing travel, and it gives you pretty good 2.2% for every transaction for all categories. What's the next credit card that you want to get from there? Like, so what I found, or what I find with the large credit card providers, is that they have so many credit cards as almost a way to try to confuse and, like, not confuse. I don't want to make it to seem like it's a bad practice, but it's like, Costco offers a lot of granola bars, but most customers are going to come through and grab one. Okay. It doesn't mean that they're going to grab multiple. So offering variety whenever you've been around for decades makes a ton of sense. But if you're starting a new company, make sure you have a really freaking good granola bar and just sell that shit for now. Same thing, like, whenever people ask, like, oh, well, SoFi needs to offer CDs. It's like, is the 4.6% not enough? Oh, who's going to lock their money up for, like, a couple tenths more in their earnings? Like, I don't know. Um, yeah, yeah. We don't need to worry about extra cards. We just want the stock to reflect the company. And yeah, I think that that'll happen. But also, I think that people's timelines are short, and I wish that it had happened earlier. But it's not like the things that are setting SoFi up for success are happening, and then SoFi is not benefiting from it. I think that they are. We are just at the same rate environment that we were previously, and if not even worse, because now there's companies like Goldman Sachs coming in and saying we don't think that there will be a rate cut this year. Well, that's extremely different than what the environment was not too long ago, right? Like just a couple months ago. So it's not like the environment's getting better and then going, oh, well, SoFi's falling so far behind. It's like, no, that's the industry that we're in, right? We're in the lending industry. I don't know. It's a personal loan provider. Um, why do you need those big fat metal water bottles at home? Why not just a glass? Otherwise, great show. uh, so I don't buy stuff like this. My girlfriend buys it, but I hate, like, if I had a glass. So the way I'm in like a 2-story house. I don't know if you count the basement. I don't think you're supposed to. So I'm in a 2-story house, upstairs, middle floor, uh, and I don't want to fill up a glass, chug it back, and then go downstairs every 10 minutes. Dude, you have no idea how many of these I go through a day. It's probably like 3. I drink a lot of water. So that's why I need this. And if someone made a glass that's this big, I'd probably do that. It is like literally just water. Like, I don't. Anyway. Freaking Danny Deals, ladies and gentlemen. Always with the most. I'm going on SoFi. Anyway. Yeah, right. You're in a hostel with Tevis and Roy. I do have a hydration backpack with the tube. I do. Maybe I'll use that next. Did we talk Nvidia yet? No, I mean, this is the fintech frenzy. I don't usually talk about those kind of stocks, but I can do 2 seconds on Nvidia. Unbelievable, mind blown again. But I'm actually starting to get really scared, and don't think that I can have this much money in a single stock. And I'm just thinking about trimming again. I haven't trimmed since like $150. So I've been holding out like crazy. And yeah, I think that either I'm going to trim right before the stock splits or right after. And I think that the stock would move on the stock split every single time. I think, well, the market understands stock splits now, and they're not going to be as excited about a 10-to-1 stock split. And they always are. They literally always are. So I may just hold out for the benefit of like that day it's up to like whatever it'll be, like $115 or something, and then just get rid of like 40% of my shares. Because honestly, that's the thing too. And I tell you guys about this, and then it's hard following your own advice. So, it's going to start affecting. It's going to start affecting my sleep, knowing that I have so much in one stock. Essentially, it's like 27% of my own overall portfolio, or at least that's what I think it'll be whenever I wake up. Wedbush owns some SoFi. No, I didn't notice that. That's funny. That's really funny. Why do I need to sleep? I mean, that's good. I mean, that's funny, but I'm just being honest. Like, I mean, I have I've definitely not played Nvidia the right way. Like I told you guys, I've been an investor since 2018 and I've sold a lot of it on the way up. If I would have held that, like just completely different things with my portfolio would have happened. But it still has done great. I mean, from my initial investment to now, it's over a 20x. Like it's just by far the best investment I've ever made. But I like at some point you got to make profits. And even if it doubles, I don't know if it's worth it. %, SoFi, and I sleep just fine. That honestly, I don't find bag holding is nearly as stressful as like having it and then losing it. If you're scared, go to church. I'm not saying your bag. You know what? You're right. B-dubs, you're 100% right because it's actually not that low. That's hilarious that I even said that. I'm currently bag holding SoFi right now because it's around $7. Tanner's vision is wearing a. This dude is behind, listening to me try to pronounce the bunch of names in that freaking article, dude. It's always been my weakness. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I posted a freaking SoFi video today that was not part of a fintech frenzy. A very bullish video, mind you. Dominguez. I still don't even remember what it is. It was like something, I forget what it is. Tanner, if SoFi ran to $14, $20 in the short term due to short interest, will you sell, trim, or hold it through? Just like right now on today's news, interest rate decisions haven't changed. I mean, yeah, $20 I'd probably sell. On the idea that interest rates are starting to cut, SoFi reaffirms guidance, and then that's what kills the shorts. No, I don't think I would trim at all. I think I would just hold. Yeah, I love the video telling us to buy new. No, I'm not. It's not even, dude. That's the funniest thing where people are like, "Oh, you're more bullish on this company." I didn't even say that. You're just looking at the numbers and determining that you like new more. Okay, so if that's the case, I knew. Like, I was just showing numbers and the valuations, and you had assessed that the most bullish thing in that chart is Nubank. I hold all three of those companies. Nvidia price prediction after split. I already said it. Like probably like 115. Like people are getting so unbelievably bullish. Jensen is just such a hype man. He's so great at it. But I think that even in this AI cycle, that there is going to be some level of like internet craze level thing where there's so many products and services that are put out and 95% of them are absolute dog shit and like not worth even using. And then, you know, a bunch of the large services like AWS and Azure and a Google Cloud provider end up sort of slowing down and not actually trying to expand as fast as they are right now. I don't know. I look at things a lot from a micro level and just say like, this is how Nvidia is doing. And if you look at that, it's impossible to not like Nvidia. And now I'm trying to take a look back and go, what's the chance that we are getting into the early phases of a bubble. And I'm not saying that Nvidia is not worth its valuation right now, but I I don't want to get to a place where the stock price is where it should be, like fair value or whatever, and then continue to hold, because my money's probably better placed in something that I think will um accelerate again, find my next really undervalued position. And I think right now, like I've picked something that I'm really grateful to cover, which is fintech and e-commerce, because right now it's just so underappreciated. And my only concern is that regulation is stepping up so much that it actually stays unappreciated because there's no margin left, because friggin' regulators and different friggin' Durbin amendments have just killed the industry of any sort of capitalistic moves. But if there is a time where rates end up starting to get cut, and all the work that I have done to try to understand this industry better, and there's still so much left to go. I'm just a freaking retail investor that has a full-time job, so this isn't the level of research that I want to stay at. We're going to continue, but we're learning, okay? But it'll be great if that industry starts to turn around and lending actually becomes what it is again. That we are where we are, knowing what we know, knowing who the current competitors. It'll be a great place. Do you think that the current bottom is in on SoFi? I mean, hard to tell. Like, I think that just there's so much volume flowing through the stock right now, and it's kind of holding it around $7. And then if it ever dips below $7, I believe that there's sort of a safety net in the form of insider buying from Anthony Noto that will keep the stock afloat. But then Q2 is going to come around, and it all relies on guidance, their expectations that are usually conservative, that just are the next bear arguments that come around again. What do I do outside of this? I'm actually a financial advisor here in Canada. It's like not the thing you're supposed to say whenever you're a YouTuber, but I just to clarify, I am a financial advisor. I'm not your financial advisor. I don't know your age, your time horizon, your stocks. All I'm covering is just the news of these stocks and the things that I'm thinking about for my portfolio. Are you buying or just looking at SoFi right now? I haven't bought in a SoFi share in a little bit. I'm just full in hold mode, believing that, we have to get through this sort of just lull moment of high interest rates and a wait on Anthony Noto and team to see, what are you innovating next? And I think that should be addressed by SoFi. I think that although you're a fully regulated bank, you need to get some of that engineering spark back in you, because I think the real thing that I really loved about SoFi, and there was a earnings call that I listened to a real long time ago where Anthony Noto was talking, and I think it was an earnings call, could have just been a different podcast or something like this, where they were talking about how they had not spent money to sort of rent a charter, right? A bank charter. And in fact, they went out and got 50 separate licenses for every single state. And then afterwards, they were applying for a real fully chartered bank license. And that there was always a route that they could have taken that was easier, that would have cost them less, but they did it right every single time, because it was going to mean higher amount of money and higher margins for them in the long run if they take that extremely hard route, right? And that's exactly what they did. And so I was such an unbelievably bullish person back then, but also not nearly knowing the numbers and everything like this on SoFi. And then during that time, whenever I was reading about all that and feeling the way I'm feeling about Shift 4 right now, and feeling the way I'm feeling about Robinhood right now, they were innovating like crazy. The Invest platform had just came out. The credit card is just like every one of those financial service products came out like bang, 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 bang. Like it was unbelievable speed of innovation from SoFi. And now I just feel like we're in a place where they're just sort of trying to maintain a good balance sheet. And that is something that we need right now. I just want to make sure that that's not the way that they are when interest rates are low, when access to new capital is cheap, whenever there's growth available and they're still being conservative. I want them to, but I understand that they can't always go blitz speeds during times of interest rates being really high. But yeah, that would continue to have me buying and increasing my weighting on SoFi. But right now, I'm pretty weighted into SoFi. And now he's a bear. Tanner, imagine when SoFi joins the S&P 500. Do you think they'll miss this year at all? I don't think that they'll miss this year at all. I think that their guidance will go up every single quarter. Will SoFi ever expand into insurance markets? I believe so, but they'll need a lot of money to do so, and so it'll be a long time. I think that there's so many better opportunities than insurance right now. Hood is going blitz speed. SoFi is going the way of LC this year. Honestly, they are. But the only thing is that the way that LC Lending Club went is that, there may be a real reason to be extremely conservative. It doesn't necessarily mean that what Lending Club did was bad. I think the problem with what Lending Club did was that essentially they were just too early, right? They did something in 2022 when maybe they should have been doing it in 2024. And that could be a real problem. So if SoFi is timing this conservative nature correctly, and they actually are right, that will be the great separator between them and some of these companies that are trying to go extremely fast. But they have to be right, or they're being too conservative and leaving money on the table. Hood is just saying, you know what? There's a meme frenzy. There's crypto coming back, and essentially they're not a lender, so they don't even have to worry about it. The problem is with being sort of a lender is that in bad times it slows your whole business down. During good times, it's such an unbelievably high margin business that ends up accelerating everything that SoFi does. If you guys go and watch that video that I posted today on comparing these all-in-one solutions, you look at the average revenue per user on SoFi and it looks like it's declining, but just look at how much it is comparatively to every other user at Cash App and Nubank. I mean, it's unbelievably high average total revenue per user because that's just the lending activity. That is what it is. Doing well, Beavis, doing well. Yeah, I am in Ontario. If Hood comes down to 18, would you be a buyer again? I don't know. I bought a decent amount to start my position in the 17s, then a little bit into the 16s. But like I'm happy with that buy. I don't know. Beavis, you need TP4 to your bunghole? Should I put my shirt over my head? Why did SoFi stop crypto in the first place? Because the Federal Reserve told them no. Federal Reserve and the SEC said, hey, if you're going to be a regulated bank, you cannot have this crypto activity. Can't directly sell crypto. So they didn't. So they stopped. They were given 2 years to slow down and then eventually stop that activity, and that's exactly what happened. And now, my opinion was, Anthony Noto said that he wanted to get in the good graces of regulators before they end up getting into business banking. I don't think that they can get into business banking while holding on to crypto. They can't say, hey, you have 2 years to do this. And they're going, okay, we'll do it. We'll do it. And also, can we also have business banking? We're going to hold on to crypto for a second as well. I don't think so. So I think that they said, all right, I said I'd give that back. You can have that, which is not a meaningful amount of their income, and say, all right, let's take on business banking. And the problem is that whenever they do offer business banking, I think that they want to offer the full, meat and potatoes and dessert and everything. I believe that they're going to come out with some sort of card program, some sort of spend management tools designed by Galileo and Technisys. I believe that they're going to get into business banking with all of this. I don't think it'll be a slow rollout. So it'll be some time. I just thought it might have been closer to after they given up the crypto. When's Tanner's first beach house? Honestly, you want to know something? I don't like the beach. When you sell Nvidia, I have not sold Nvidia. I just might. Tanner, we need you back in Palantir. I mean, maybe, but not not today. Oh, got you. Oh, I'll have a beach house when I sell Nvidia. Only asshats don't like the beach. Okay. All right. I just don't like just sitting in sand and just looking at water. I mean, it's cool for a little bit, but to have a house there and I'm pretty sure all the salt from the water ends up eroding the metal parts of your house. It ends up costing it a shit ton more in maintenance and stuff. It's just way more expensive. SoFi asked me if I was a small business owner in the app 2 days ago. Now that's interesting. I like that. If you get that email or you still have that email, why not? Please, dude, please screenshot, send that over to me on X here somewhere, email futureinvestingyt@gmail.com somewhere. I want to see that. Go to a topless beach, you'll feel differently. Maybe. Thoughts on Shopify right now? I mean, Unknown, I see you all the time. You know my opinions on Shopify. I love Shopify. When I said yes, they recommended me to their SMB loan marketplace. They're like, hey, do you have time for a survey right now? You're like, okay, sure. Are you a business owner? Yes. All right. Take out a loan then, idiot. Seriously, if you're talking about the Shopify thing, it's true. I actually am. That's funny. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a freaking hour. This is supposed to be a 30-minute show. Thank you all so much for watching. Really do appreciate your time. But until next time, bye for now.